Subway's in trouble, and it's not just bad PR. In 2025 alone, over 800 stores shut down. Shrinking portions, sketchy ingredients, prices that no longer match the promise. For millions of Americans, the trust just broke, and there's no coupon big enough to win it back. Think you know Subway? Think again. What you're about to hear isn't just shocking, it's personal. If you've ever paid $12 for a sandwich that left you still hungry, this countdown is for you. And number 1, it might just change where and how you eat forever. 7. The tuna. That's not tuna. It started with whispers, then lawsuits, and finally, lab results that rattled the country. In a California court-ordered test, 19 out of 20 samples of Subway's tuna showed 0 traces of actual tuna DNA. That's not just a fluke, that's nearly every sample failing to be what it claimed. What would you do if your favorite sandwich turned out to be a fraud? For millions of Americans, that was the moment the spell broke. One customer said it best: "I paid for a tuna sub and got a science experiment instead." Can you imagine spending your hard-earned money on something you believed was healthy, only to find out it's not even real? That's not just misleading, it's a straight-up betrayal. And it forces a bigger question. If they're not honest about the tuna, what else are they not telling us? So ask yourself, when was the last time you actually looked at what you're eating? How many meals have you trusted just because the label looked clean or the brand felt familiar? This isn't just about one sandwich. It's about waking up to the fact that not everything behind the counter is what it seems. And the next item? It hits even closer to home. It's baked into the one thing we all took for granted. 6. The Bread Bombshell. It's legally cake. Imagine this. You walk into Subway thinking you're making a smarter lunch choice. Something lighter, maybe even healthier. But what if I told you that the bread hugging your sandwich is closer to dessert than dinner? That's not exaggeration. That's law. Ireland's Supreme Court officially ruled that Subway's bread contains so much sugar, it can't legally be classified as bread. It's legally cake. Yes, cake. You're basically eating a sub on sponge. Let that sit with you for a second. How many of us have tried to eat better and reached for that turkey sub instead of a burger, thinking it's the right move? But if your healthy option has more sugar than a frosted donut, are you really doing yourself any favors? Ask yourself, if the foundation of your meal is already a trick, what hope does the rest of it have? In 2025, health-conscious Americans aren't just disappointed, they're done. One former loyalist put it like this: "I was trying to eat clean and realized I'd been eating cake for lunch 3 times a week." That realization hits hard, especially when you're watching every dollar, trying to make smarter food choices, and then find out you've been misled. Because let's be honest, when food lies to you, it's not just a bad buy. It feels personal. And hey, real talk. If you've ever felt fooled at the register, you're not alone. That's why Frugal Daily exists. We shine a light on these hidden traps every single week, so you stop wasting money and start spending smarter. If you're tired of empty labels and fake deals, do yourself a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. Because what's coming next? It hits your wallet even harder. 5. Shrinking subs, rising rage. Remember when grabbing a footlong from Subway actually felt like a full meal? Maybe even enough for 2 sittings if you were budgeting right? Not anymore. In 2025, more and more customers are opening that sandwich wrapper and feeling robbed. The bread's the same size, sure, but the fillings? They've been cut down so aggressively it's hard not to feel insulted. Less meat, fewer veggies, same inflated price. You're not imagining it, you're getting less for more. A frustrated customer on Reddit said it best: "They cut my meat from 12 slices to 8, I cut Subway from my life." That line hit home for thousands. Because when you're trying to eat on a budget, the last thing you need is to pay premium prices for half the product. It's not just a smaller sandwich, it's a smaller standard. One that tells you, loud and clear, that the brand you once trusted to be affordable and filling just doesn't care like it used to. And that's the core of why millions are quitting Subway in 2025. Not just because of portion cuts, but because those cuts reveal something deeper. A disconnect between the brand and the customer. People are waking up. They're realizing that loyalty means nothing if you're constantly getting shorted. And the deeper we go, the more you'll see. Number 4 takes us behind the scenes, where even Subway's own franchisees are walking away. 4. Franchise owners are done. You think it's rough being a customer? Try being the one footing the bill behind the counter. In 2025, a growing number of Subway franchise owners aren't just frustrated, they're finished. Between the crushing 8% royalty fees, mandatory remodels that cost tens of thousands, and a corporate system that offers little to no real support, many are throwing in the towel, quietly. Overnight. No warning. Just locked doors and signs taped to the window. One of those signs said it all. Not worth it anymore. That wasn't just a message to customers. It was a cry from someone who poured everything into a business that stopped giving back. And when the people who own the stores start leaving in silence, it speaks volumes. The problem isn't just at the front of the counter. It's baked into the system itself. Profit margins have shrunk. Expectations have soared. And support? Practically vanished. Think about it. If franchisees can't even afford to keep the lights on, what kind of experience do you think that creates for the customer? Corners get cut. Quality slips. Morale tanks. And suddenly, you're not just biting into a disappointing sandwich, you're walking into a store that feels like it's barely hanging on. And coming up next, number 3 shows exactly where that breakdown leads. Because for hundreds of locations, the lights aren't just dimming, they're going dark for good. 3. Closures are accelerating. Picture this. You drive to your regular Subway spot, the one near work or school, only to find the doors locked, lights off, and a handwritten sign that simply reads, "Closed permanently." No warning, no announcement, just gone. That's the new reality in 2025, as entire neighborhoods wake up to find their local Subway has vanished overnight. It's not just inconvenient, it's unsettling. Because when a chain this big starts disappearing this fast, something's seriously broken. And when stores vanish without a trace, customers are left with more questions than answers. Over the past year alone, hundreds of Subway locations have shut down with zero notice. Employees report being laid off without even a phone call. Some showed up for their shifts only to find chains on the doors. For customers, it's a slap in the face. One day, you're grabbing lunch, the next you're locked out of a business you've supported for years, with no explanation, no closure, just silence. That kind of instability doesn't just damage a brand, it destroys trust in the entire system. And here's what's most alarming. This isn't a slow fade. It's a collapse. A domino effect that's picking up speed, not slowing down. So if you're thinking, that's probably just in other cities, not where I live, think again. The cracks are spreading, and what's next might hit closer to home than you expect. Stick around, because number 2 hits not just your local store, but your wallet every single time. And it's one of the biggest reasons people are finally saying, enough is enough. 2. The $5 footlong is dead. And so is the value. Remember that jingle? $5 footling. It used to be a symbol of value, a promise that you could walk into Subway with a $5 bill and walk out fed. But in 2025, that promise is long gone. Today, some of those same sandwiches are pushing $14, and that's without a drink or chips. You're not buying a meal. You're buying a memory of when it used to be worth it. And for families trying to stretch every dollar, it's a deal that no longer delivers. One mom summed it up with painful clarity. I fed my family Subway. It cost $56, and no one was full. Let that sink in. You could cook a full dinner at home, or even go to a sit-down restaurant for that same amount. Subway was supposed to be fast, affordable, and convenient. Now, it's fast disappointment at a premium price. And the worst part is, the portions are smaller, the quality is inconsistent, and the value evaporated. Here's the truth. Inflation is hitting everyone, but some brands are handling it better than others. Subway didn't just raise prices, it shattered the perception of affordability it built for decades. And when that illusion breaks, so does loyalty. Because when you realize you're spending big and still leaving hungry, it's not just frustrating, it's a turning point. And coming up next, number 1 doesn't just explain why people are walking away, it shows exactly where they're going instead. 1. Better sandwiches are everywhere. Walk into a Jersey, Mike's, Jimmy John's, or even a Panera in 2025, and you'll feel it right away. The difference is real. The bread smells fresher. The veggies are crisp. The meat is sliced on the spot. And suddenly, that $12 lunch doesn't sting quite as much. Because when you're spending real money, you expect a real meal. More and more Americans are figuring that out. And they're making the switch. Not out of hype, but out of hunger for something better. This isn't just about ingredients. It's about experience. It's about not walking away from lunch feeling cheated. As one customer put it, If I'm going to spend $12 on a sandwich, it better not taste like regret. That's the energy driving the shift. People aren't just ditching Subway, they're upgrading. They're realizing that the same money gets them more elsewhere. More flavor, more consistency, more respect for their wallet. And in a time where every dollar counts, that decision feels personal. So here's where we land. Subway isn't just losing market share, it's being outclassed. Quietly, consistently, and across the board. 2025 isn't the year of a Subway boycott. It's the year of better options, smarter spending, and knowing that loyalty only goes so far when the value disappears. And if you've felt that shift yourself, you're not alone. This movement is growing, one sandwich at a time. This isn't just about spending less, it's about spending smarter. And for millions of Americans in 2025, that shift starts with walking away from brands that forgot who they're serving. It's not about loyalty anymore. It's about value, honesty, and respect for your dollar. So let me ask you, what's one fast food chain you used to love, but finally gave up on? Was it the price hikes? The quality drop? The feeling that you were just another number? Drop your story in the comments. I read everyone, and I want to know what made you walk away. And if this video struck a nerve, you're going to love what's next. Click on our follow-up. The real reason customers are quitting McDonald's in 2025. Trust me, what you'll learn in that one might just change your next drive-thru decision. Watch it next. I'll meet you there.